Ever since I joined the manga community, I've seen manga readers, manga collectors, manga video creators all rave about Tatsuki Fujimoto, and I had no idea why. It wasn't because I wasn't a fan of his work, and I kind of knew who he was based on other YouTube videos I've seen, but I just didn't understand why they raved about this guy so much. And no one really gave a reason. They were just always like, you have to read it for yourself. So I did exactly that. So as you all know, I just started collecting manga and really started reading manga. I've always been an anime fan, but I've never really gotten to manga until recently. And I'll be doing this through a new series of mine called Breaking the Spine. Get it? You open a book and it's the spine. Anyway, the whole point of this series is so I can be introduced to other mangaka outside of like the main people. And also I just want to get into other work so I can kind of look at other mangaka and see, okay, what have you created? Do I like your style? Do I like your art? Do I like how you tell stories? All of that. So I want to do more of that, hopefully with the help of you all by giving me recommendations below. But the first person we're going to do for this series is Tatsuki Fujimoto. As I made the decision to dive into Tatsuki Fujimoto's work, I thought the best place would probably be Chainsawman because that's what the one everyone talks about. I know there's Fire Punch and there's some others as well, but I thought Chainsawman is the one I've seen the most. It already has like a hit anime. I thought it would just be perfect. Box set just came out that I just bought, but I don't know anything about Tatsuki Fujimoto. But I didn't do that. But I thought, hey, before I get into his more critically acclaimed works, why not dive into some of his other stuff and kind of get a feel of it, of how kind of he tells his stories, how is his art, how embraced will I be when reading his manga. So I decided to do two other manga and then go into Chainsawman. And the first two manga I tried were Look Back and Goodbye Yuri. Look Back is a one-shot manga by Tatsuki Fujimoto, and it's about this girl named Fujina who is currently writing manga in her school newsletter in hopes that one day she'll become a manga artist herself. And everyone loves her art. Everyone loves her, the way she tells stories. And even though her art isn't the best, like I said, people still love it. But then one day she's asked, hey, we have this girl who's unable to come to school, physically unable to come to school. Why not let her kind of do this? This is what she wants to do as well. Why not let her do it? So Fujina is kind of a little weary about it, but eventually she just goes ahead and gives it the green light. They go ahead, and then on the next newsletter, you see both of their work. You see Fujino's work, and then you see the new girl's work. And the difference is, Fujina, while her story is usually compelling and has this like deeper meaning and is entertaining, her art once again is okay. But this new girl, her art is fantastic. Now, it's all just landscapes. There are no words, there's no dialogue, there's no anything. It's just landscapes. But the art is so good that everyone starts to say, hey, maybe she's better than Fujina, even though she doesn't have any story in her manga at all. Then, understandably so, we see Fujina become jealous. And instead of kind of taking it and pouting, I like kind of how in this story, Fujimoto kind of had her grind and want to be better. Because, most times people just quit. They're like, okay, someone's better than me, I quit. But we all know in life, no matter what you do, there's always going to be someone better than you. It's up to you about what you want to do about it. And what Fujino did is constantly get better. So we see in a way of like these panels where I really enjoy kind of the time lapse. You see kind of the time goes by and the frame looks the same. So if you look at the panels, it's just Fujino drawing. But you look around the room, some things are maybe out of place. The calendar has changed on the wall. It's just subtle changes to kind of show this time lapse, but it also shows how much time she really has passed and how hard she's working. It wasn't like a week or two passed. We were seeing months pass as she continued to want to perfect her craft because this is something she really wanted to do. And someone out of nowhere, assumingly, basically took what was hers. And that's what made her popular, was her manga strips in the school newsletter. That's when the story kind of takes a turn because Fujimoto does kind of the unthinkable. And usually when we see a main character, we see they get everything they want if they work hard enough. But immediately, not even halfway through, I think, we see Fujino fail. And we see her fail by, she thinks she finally, like, this is it. This manga is going to blow, whatever the other girl's doing out the water. I've done it. I'm going to win back my friends. I can go back to my life. And then the mysterious girl does even better than her after months of working so hard to kind of get it right. It still, honestly, and art-wise, was not comparable to what the other girl did. And so at this point, this is where she thinks she needs to quit. This is where she thinks, you know what? There's no point of it. So then she decides, I'm gonna go start hanging out back with my friends. I missed out on so much trying to do this, and maybe I'm just not good at it. So while you do not like to see someone fail, especially someone that you kind of are perceived to see as the main character, it is kind of interesting to see, okay, maybe this isn't it for me. And that's a skill in its own. It's a skill in its own to be able to, as a person, to reflect and say, maybe this just quite isn't for me on a, certain skill level to want to be a manga creator. Even though, that's not always true, but it is a talent, I would say. So it is interesting to see how this girl is able to internalize that and understand that, and then kind of just look to do what normal middle school girls do. And as soon as she finally starts to pay attention to more, maybe probably some of the more important things in her life, the teacher asks her, can she deliver her graduation certificate to the mysterious girl? The mysterious girl who is physically unable to come to school. Can Fujino take that certificate and take it to the girl? And at first she's kind of like, nah, I don't want to do it. But the teacher's like, hey, it would just really be, helpful for her, me, you, everybody involved if you just go ahead and take it. So she decides to take it. So when she takes it, the girl originally doesn't answer, but then when she comes to the door, they kind of almost instantly bond as they both understand that they enjoy manga. And so what Fujimoto did here, I think, is important because he was able to kind of take the opposites attract stereotype or trope and kind of play off that and have these two girls kind of go for the same goal, even though they're two completely different people. They're two completely different people, but it also plays out because you have one do the compelling story and the other one do the fantastic art. And one thing they share together is the love of drawing manga or working with manga. And you also see that they're both diligent about what they do. They want to be good at it. They want to make it their life. They want to do as much as they can to achieve that goal. So while they're completely opposite, their goals and kind of their mentality is the same. Now, I won't continue to kind of go into the story as I don't want to give it away, but I do suggest you read it. I think it was a pretty good read. Fujimoto does an excellent job of kind of leaving it up to interpretation of what we think happens. And I think that's really difficult to do. And sometimes can be annoying when you're reading something that's a one shot. There's no additional story to this. There's no volume 2. There's no volume 3. It's just this one manga. So I think he did an excellent job of kind of being able to tell a full story in maybe less than 200 pages. And as I cracked open the second book I ended up reading, which was Goodbye Eerie, I realized how good Fujimoto is at building out relationships, because in this manga, it's about a boy named Yuta whose mother tragically passes away due to an illness. And what she wanted him to do, kind of like as her dying wish, was to kind of record her last moments. Now, why would a mother ask their son to do anything of the sorts? You kind of find out in this manga. This is a great read. To me, this one was better than Look Back. Not that Look Back was bad. I actually really enjoyed Look Back, but it was not Goodbye Eerie. Goodbye Eerie to me was just fantastic. And the reason it's fantastic is because a lot of the same thing. The art in it's really good. The art in it is it brings you in because it is something that's somewhat simple as far as like the story and kind of what's going on, at least for the most part. However, something about the art just makes it build on to how realistic this like situation can be. It's hard to explain it, but that's just kind of the best I got. And the reason the relationship in this was so special was because we see kind of the relationship between Yuta and his dad, Yuta and his mom, Yuta and this mysterious girl he meets named Eerie, who also has a secret of her own. And it's just so well thought of. Once again, you do have the time lapse panels. You also just have kind of the connection between the characters and how it slowly built. And once again, this is a 190 page manga, I believe. So the fact that we're just able to see so much in such little, and there are so many pages where there's no dialogue at all. No dialogue at all whatsoever. However, we can feel every single emotion that is going on at this time. And while the emotions are not like very, I wouldn't say thought out, but they're not like super severe, you do get sometimes in certain moments, there's nothing to say. There's nothing to really even show on your face as you're kind of understanding the situation. And we get a lot of that in here. And the way he's kind of able to tell the story, and it almost is like it's 2, maybe even 3 stories at once, I think is just fantastic. And once I read this first and then I read Look Back. But once I read this, I think I was ready for Chainsawman, because I was like, I don't know how it gets better than this, because I haven't heard too much about Goodbye Eerie until I started looking up more Tatsuki Fujimoto works. So the fact that it's this good, I was so ready for Chainsawman, but I had to read Look Back. I just think I can't recommend this read enough, and it kind of while all three of these stories, because as I mentioned, we're going to talk about it, but I do also end up reading Chainsaw Man, at least the first volume. As all these stories are different, it makes sense that they're all by the same person. They all have this kind of same undertone to it, a little bit of funny. Even though I think Goodbye Eerie and Chainsaw Man obviously has a little more comedy, and I think with Goodbye Eerie, the comedy in it is different than the comedy in Chainsaw Man. The comedy in Chainsaw Man is kind of in your face, not in a bad way, but it's just more noticeable. You know when to laugh. It's almost like that comedy in Chainsaw Man is like watching an old Disney show and hearing the laugh track, or any type of television show like that. The comedy in Goodbye Eerie is one of those things where I would almost say is dark comedy, but not like he's telling like these jokes where it's like, I don't know if I should laugh at that, but I can't help but laugh at it. It's more so the awkwardness, the uncomfortable you may feel of like what is even going on makes you kind of laugh. Like I said, and you're not laughing. Nothing in here is like terrible or you shouldn't laugh. It's just more so. It's one of those things where it's so realistic. It's so real that you laugh. I don't know. I don't know how else to put it, but maybe you can read it, or maybe someone down in the comment section below can explain it. But it's not a comedy. I'm just saying that there are comedic elements in it. And once again, you see that through all three. But I like how it's different. He doesn't have like he has a style of inserting comedy in his works, but it's not a certain style of comedy. He's able to get a joke off in whichever way he wants to. And I really appreciate that. And as I mentioned, the last one I read is Chainsaw Man. In fact, to even record this video, I'll pick it up. I had to put down Chainsaw Man Volume 2 because I was just reading it. I'm like halfway through. But I just finished Volume 1 yesterday, and I love it so much. It's an easy read. I love easy reads because I don't know what it is, but like, let's say something like Mob Psycho, not to poop on Mob Psycho because I like Mob Psycho. It's kind of difficult for me to read like through. It's difficult for me to kind of just read, volume after volume after volume. I'm having no trouble whatsoever reading this volume through volume. Because like I said, I read Volume 1 yesterday. And part of that is just because how just compelling and just so much is going on, and like in Chainsaw Man, I know in the others I've talked about the artwork and how it's pretty good. The artwork and line work in Chainsaw Man is phenomenal, and it's a little grungy. Like it's almost like it's intentionally dirty in some areas. Like some of the fight scenes, and the fight scenes are chaotic. They're fun. They're aggressive. They're there's blood and there's all kinds of stuff. So I really enjoy just kind of reading Chainsaw Man because we're getting this action-packed filled manga with a world that we're kind of learning more and more about steadily through, the action that's happening, through the relationships that our main character Denji has. And we're seeing like how they all kind of work together in terms of the relationship. And this is all just in Volume 1. So it's just a fantastic read. Anything that you think is going to happen, the opposite happens. You're like, okay, but how do we get back to this? I just love Chainsaw Man so much already. And I'm only like a volume and a half in. And we can see kind of what I really like about Chainsaw Man is depending on who you are as a person, you will have a different experience. I really truly feel like no two people will have the same exact experience reading Chainsaw Man because on one hand, I can see you walking away seeing like, oh, this is like almost like a dark, manga as far as like some of the themes, but there's a lot of comedic relief. Or you could see this as a very comedic manga with some action and some other stuff in it. So you really could see it either way, and I don't think that it's good either way, however you slice it. Because I know sometimes if you look at really with movies, I know for a fact, if someone looks at a movie as a thriller, but then another person looks at it as like a true horror, you are going to have different perceptions, and it may be a bad thing. Because if the horror person is probably looking for more, darker concepts and just like maybe more I don't know the word for it, but just maybe more scary part, as opposed to the thriller is just more looking for more intensifying jump scare, things like that. And you're just like, oh, well, I wasn't expecting that. I didn't like it. With Chainsaw Man, I don't care what you're thinking about what you're about to read, I promise you that one is going to surpass your expectations, and two, you're really going to enjoy it. So far, I really have enjoyed it. I like the delinquency of it. I like at some parts it's like kind of juvenile, but also if you like really pay attention to what's going on, it's like, no, this is actually pretty important as well. So it's just something that I really, really enjoy. So I will definitely like to read more Tatsuki Fujimoto. I'll definitely like to just read more stuff like this in general, more mangaka who are like that. So let me know down in the comment section below who I should do next. Even if I have a manga of theirs, I think it'll be different of kind of reading the manga with kind of doing this video and understanding the concepts and comparing it to the rest of the works in mind. I think that's going to change my reading experience as well. So please feel free to recommend anybody and I will definitely do it. But let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Do you like Tatsuki Fujimoto? If so, do you like Chainsawman? Do you like Goodbye Eerie? Are there other things I should read? I know he has the one where he like the two sisters draw themselves naked. I don't know. He's a weird dude and you can tell based on Chainsawman, because like coming up with a world like that, which I mentioned in like one of my last videos, but coming up with a world where like there's devils for everything based on human fears and they get stronger based on how scared people are of it is just, it's insane to think about, but it's also a good world to be in because so much could happen and it's just going to be so different from everything else I've read. So once again, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.